ways Lynetta's doing that now is she's creating meditations.
Guided meditations.
Yeah. And she's really like acknowledging herself for the awesome meditations that she's creating.
Yeah.
And how it helps people.
Yeah.
And one of the questions...
I love that. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead,
one of the
Mark.
questions I think you asked is how she got started in this. And I was thinking you should share when you tried to commit suicide and what happened.
Well, the last time I attempted that, I wrote a letter and I took some Valium and I called a friend and she got concerned and she called and they brought an ambulance out and I went into the hospital and I knew they were going to take me from there to a psych ward because they do a hold on you. It's at least a 48-hour hold. And my mom came in and I said, Mom, let's sneak out the back and leave because I didn't want to go to the psych ward. So she took me home and I'm like, okay, what is this about? Why did I do this? And it was, I heard three things. That I thought I was crazy and I thought I was so devastated from the end of a heartbreaking relationship and I didn't know how to move beyond it. And I said, no, you're not crazy. You just don't have the tools and you don't know how to move forward. You've been laying in bed with the curtains drawn and you need to open up the curtains, get up out of bed and do one step at a time. And then after doing that for a couple days, I got that I couldn't just take one step at a time. I needed to bring joy into my life. But I didn't know what that was. I had been depressed so long. Joy was such a big leap from where I was. So I said, okay, I'm curious. What would joy look like if I had joy in my life? And that brought in new experiences like yoga came into my life. I got my first massage and fell in love with getting body work. So I went to massage school. So just having the curiosity, if you're in a place where you're depressed and you can't even get out of bed, just be curious and ask yourself, well, what would it look like if I were to have joy in my life? What would that look like? And then experiences will start to come into your field that will show you what it feels like, what it looks like, what joy can bring into your world.
And why did you decide not to try the suicide path again?
Oh, I had heard somebody had told me after, this was like right when I got home from the hospital, I heard somewhere that, and I had never been raised to believe in reincarnation, but someone said, if you die being depressed or in suicidal, from suicide, you will reincarnate and come back with the same issues, the same things, and you're going to have to deal with it in that next life. And even though I had never been raised to believe in reincarnation, I adapted that. That went in, that idea felt right to me. And I was like, yeah, I think that's true. And from that point on, I said, well, that means I have to deal with these feelings. I can't escape them. I can't just check out and the game will be over. I'm gonna come back and repeat this cycle unless I figure it. So I might as well do it now. So that started me on the path of, okay, what are the steps? I'm gonna need to open the windows. I'm gonna need to bring joy into my life, and off I went from there.
Wow. Gosh, I mean, that's a dark hole to be, a very deep dark hole to be in, where you go from suicidal ideation into actually, making it a physical act. And, and now you had that, well, at that time you had the guide rope to haul you out of that deep dark well with that, rising realization of reincarnation. Because, there's, whenever you meet that resistance in life, it's really requesting you to surrender to it. Because rather than trying to fight it, because, and I say this quite a lot on podcasts, because people come to me with resistance, and they try and fight or repress or suppress that resistance, because that's what we're taught to do.
Yeah.
You know, I was taught that boys don't cry, be a man, stand up and, you know, step up and stand tall, all that kind of BS narrative that just clogs your consciousness and then becomes part of your belief system. So you surrendered, and on the other side of that surrender, as you were narrating, was this incredible unfettered versatility into freedom, right? Is you started to experience how you would start to talk to your inner child, how you would deal with all of that, how you would create an inner system of home, you know, an environment for that inner child to flourish and to be okay, so that it wasn't running for a safety nest, you were cultivating a safety net for it.
Yeah.
And that inner system of home is an environment that is conducive to that freedom, because if you try and use willpower 99 times out of 100, environment will always beat willpower, always.
And the rebel in me would resist if I tried force, because I was getting force from everybody around me. They were trying to force me to fit into their, you know, the round peg trying to fit into a square hole, and I was resisting. I was digging in my heels saying, I'm not doing this. You know?
That's one of the reasons we don't coach people who say they want motivation.
Yeah.
Because those people basically are trying to force themselves to do something their soul really doesn't want to do. And it's like, we don't want to motivate you to do something you really don't want to do. We want to find out what you really do want to do and help you get that.
Yeah, inspiration.
Yes.
The invitation to inspiration.
Oh, I like that. Beautiful. And also motivation is an external thing, right? It's not an internal aspect. You know, it's when you speak to, you know, I was speaking to a chap who was an alcoholic for many, many years in Hollywood, and his environment was such that he mixed with other alcohol people who drink, and in environments where drinking, and inside he was I want to change this, but he couldn't, because the environment was so strong. And part of the issue is that when you conform, or when you're organized and propelled to conform to that, you get confirmed. It confirms everything. It confirms the victim consciousness. It confirms the codependent relationships, right? It confirms all of that, because you're seeking acceptance and approval from the group or the society that you're part of. So it's that desire to fit in, and then to avoid rejection, to avoid social rewards. Because when people conform, they experience a sense of belonging, right? And validation, because their thoughts, behaviors, and beliefs align with those of the majority. Because it gives you a sense of security. So if you adhere to those established norms and values, what have you got? You've got predictability. You've got familiarity in social interactions. And if you deviate from those norms, like I did, because I wanted to explore my own mind, that leads to social disapproval, which then can cause anxiety or ostracism or isolation, you know, exclusion. And then you conform to avoid negative consequences. So you can maintain that, you develop that survival mechanism, because you want to have some sort of stability in your social environment. And I think that that conformity is reinforced through various social mechanisms, like socialization processes such as parenting, education, peer influence. They all play a significant role in our conditioning and our attitudes and our behaviors to align, right? Because we learn and then we align